to the ground!
Well, welcome back to another Run Disney Rundown. We are here to talk about Halloween Half Marathon. Okay, there we go. It's taking a second for YouTube to pick up the stream, yeah. But anyways, we are here to talk everything Halloween Half Marathon weekend at Disneyland, Disneyland's second return to Run Disney. Definitely lots of, I think, compare and contrast to talk about between the two. A lot of good too, which I think is good.
A lot of improvements, really, like on from the return of Disneyland races that we had in January. I think they actually really did take feedback seriously. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we are live. So if you are watching, we have the chat open. Feel free, let us know how you're doing. Let us know you're watching. It is Sunday afternoon, which means most of us are coming off of our long runs. I got 12 miles in today. And Katie is going to be out Wednesday to try to crush 14.
Yes, we slept in a little too late. 14 takes me a long time, so I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. That is.
I also brought no nutrition with me at all, which was dumb. So, yeah, we're gonna get it all right and go to bed early Tuesday.
It was just a tough run to plan for. I did back-to-back closes. So.
Yeah. And I was doing mega cookie stuff this whole week. We haven't cleaned or unpacked or finished unpacking until this afternoon. So it's been a whirlwind of a week. So we're getting back into our schedule. I am so sorry.
You're all good. But we will go ahead and get into Halloween half weekend. Again, back to Disneyland, which is always exciting. Definitely have increased our Disneyland trips almost twofold in the last year now, which is pretty fun.
I will say Disneyland portion wise, this was my least, I don't want to say least favorite, because it was still a great trip, but least productive because it was so darn hot.
It was very hot, yes. If you were there, you know we had 100-degree days every day. Yeah, over.
Yeah, I've never felt anything like that heat. And unfortunately, we were thinking of how nice and mild temperatures were in January, and then showing up and not really getting to use the most out of our park tickets when you take into consideration the race mornings and going to bed at a good time. And we even stayed up later than we would have normally. And we looked warm in the sun. We were warm.
It's very true. Yep.
And we can get into this specifically for each race too. During the race, comparable to Florida temperatures for us, really. But when you hit the afternoons and you're trying to be around the parks and stuff, or even sitting outside at the pool, it was not good.
Yeah, it was not the most pleasant weather for sure, but we'll go ahead and take this to the start, the Expo. Now, we got in on Friday. If you follow us on Instagram, you know we tied this to an Alani trip. So to maximize kind of all of the time we could, we missed out on the Thursday Expo, so we did not do virtual queue or any of that. I will say Friday was still pretty busy. It was very, very packed and full, almost as much at that time, at least. We were there pretty close to when the Expo opened.
I think we probably got there 11:15, 11:30ish or so.
An hour or so after. Yeah, we got off the plane, put our stuff in the room, and pretty much went down to the Expo. Otherwise, it's still kind of a smaller space in comparison to what we get at Disney or Walt Disney World with Wide World of Sports. They are really still trying to pack it in. I think they did make some improvements to a little bit of how they were flowing people. Mm-hmm. They did change some setups. They increased the vendor space a little bit too. It looked like spread that out a little bit more, which was good. But no issues with bib pickup or any of that. I think that all seems to run pretty smooth.
Yeah, I think they have a good setup. I think it's smart to utilize that upstairs space to let people. It's just in the parks. It spreads out people around different attractions, so to speak. Um, Lots of photo backdrops. Disneyland does a great job with like decor and like theming of things. Like that's always been really top notch, and they had that going. So yeah, I thought the expo was really good. It was, I mean, it was crowded. I was walking around with my friend Allie, and like I had to put, I felt like I was running into people a lot, and I like really had to pay attention to where I was going. But they had good vendors, I think. Pretty your basic stuff going on.
Yeah, they didn't really have a lot of like. I mean, I always complain about like they didn't really have any like shoe vendors or any
Yeah.
of that. Like, at least at Walt Disney World, like we get Fit to Run, which does a pretty good general display of
Yeah.
anything you need. They have a good variety of shoes, even if you just like want to try something.
I think they have the benefit though of just since they're there in Springs, I think it's just like they're there. I don't know if Disneyland has like a hookup or a connection or a independent store who wants to come in and do that. Probably, and because there's not a lot of space, that Fit to Run area of the Walt Disney World like expos takes up like a good footprint.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that too. The luxury of space is probably the big one there. I do wonder if they could maybe push like shirt pickup to another building, like upstairs, not building, but room upstairs, and open that up
They
as well.
they could, but I don't think they will because part of the reason of putting the shirts there is to make people go to the
Oh yeah,
spend money place. Like you have to go there. So
it just feels like in this case, like it's not like World where it's like, okay, hop to the other building, hop to the other building. Like you're in that building either way.
yeah, I guess the only other thing that they could do is they could see if they have a like they do at World, move the Disney sold merchandise to another spot. That would open up the room.
Yeah. Otherwise, variety of like theme merch I thought was pretty good.
Yes, I actually really, really liked the theme merch. The art for this weekend with the Minnie and the crew as Sanderson sisters. The Chip and Dale like 5K stuff was adorable. Like it was good stuff. Good variety, like you said. Jackets, shirts, hats.
Yeah, I mean, big thing overall theming of the weekend was just top notch. Like,
Yeah.
definitely the highlight of pretty much the entire thing. I don't really have too much more to talk about in the expo, though.
Yeah. I will say if you've never been to a Disneyland Expo and it's something that you're like researching or interested in, like I think they do a really good job. It's at the Disneyland Hotel. They have like a temporary like food service location set up in the hall, which we've gotten a few things there before, generally pretty good stuff. But you're also at the Disneyland Hotel, so you have a coffee shop there that we used because we were starting to get a little tired from the flight. I think we were up at 3 a.m. Eastern that morning, so we were getting sleepy. Then they also have the terrace, quick service. They have a couple pool lounges, like so if you're going over there and you need, want to make a little bit of an afternoon of it, there's lots of stuff there. Plus downtown Disney is right there too.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably the greatest benefit is you can walk to it from
Yeah.
most places.
It's one reason I think why we've actually really enjoyed staying at the Disneyland Hotel for these races. I mean, it's more expensive to be on Disney property, but being like right there so close to the expo and being like, running down to grab something or look at something again or all of that.
Meet up with people.
Even like that's where we were staying, being able to drop our bags and be right there, like that was really nice. So it's a good spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. Well, we did not run the 5K, but we can chat about that real quick. I just had a couple kind of general notes. I mean, most people said this was probably one of the like best Walt Disney World 5 or best run Disney 5Ks, not Walt Disney World. Just they had the fireworks for the start in the park. They had like a whole little show at the beginning, and then of course you're pretty much doing your full 5K through the parks. So I heard a lot of positive things about this. Plus, then you're finishing in a park as well.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are starting basically down Main Street and then finishing over there by Pixar Pier, again, heard a lot of overall positives from the 5K.
I think next time we do a Disneyland race, like I'm gonna push to do, I guess, all three, considering if they do, the same setup they usually do. Because the 5Ks do seem like so much fun, and it would be nice to do like one.
Yeah, I agree. I would absolutely be down to do it next time. I We have not done either of the Disneyland 5Ks. We did spectate
which
the
was also fun.
Disneyland. It was fun.
Yeah.
That was a little tough, but
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, positives from the 5K. We would definitely give it a try next time we make our way over there for Run Disney. And then moving on to the 10K, our first event that we ran, we did the challenge, so 10K and half marathon. We did start this morning with a little bit of a miss. Transportation
yeah.
from Disneyland Hotel was not as great as it could have been. Room for improvement.
So what they did when we were there before, I think the security gate to walk through downtown Disney opened at either 3 or 3:15. It opened earlier than it did this weekend because this weekend they did not open it till 3:30, which still gives you plenty of time, we discovered.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind. But what happened when we walked up to the gate was they said we're not opening until 3:30. They're running a shuttle. You can get it at the front of the hotel. We're telling everyone to go that way. And so we're like, okay, we'll go take a shuttle. We found the line. And then we're waiting in line and we're just watching like minutes tick away. It hits 3:30 and we haven't seen one come yet. And then maybe 3:35.
3:35, 3:40, two show up. They fill those up, and we were like the cutoff point.
Literally, like two. They didn't realize like our group of 4 were together, and like 2 of them were going to go on. They're like, we're gonna hold you guys for the next one. So we called our 2 people back, and they said it'll be here in a few minutes. So we wait, and it hits 3:45, and I'm looking at like my Google Maps. 15-minute walk through Disney Springs. I'm like, well, the gate's open. Like, do you
might
just
as well
go?
walk?
So that's what we did. So in the future, we also had friends who were staying at the Grand Californian, and it was the same deal there. They wouldn't let them go into the security gate until 3:30. So that was just different. In the end, it worked out fine. The next day, we just waited till 3:30 and went through the gate. A line builds up before they start, but they've been moving it pretty quick. So
yeah, I just feel like for Disneyland weekend, like there was a lot more communication about that stuff, like what time security was opening, and I just don't remember seeing, and I could 100% be wrong, and I will like fully admit that if that's the case, but I just don't ever remember seeing, like, when you're at World, there's tons of signs about, when you walk into any resort, they're like, okay, here's the bus schedule. This is what time we recommend you being on the bus, this and that. And
yeah,
I think what frustrated me was it was obviously different from Disneyland because we did not have that issue at Disneyland. And then it didn't feel like it was announced.
When he says at Disneyland, he means at
Disneyland weekend.
Yeah, just to clarify. Yeah, it's true. They could have put up signs for sure. And then I believe later that day, because we had been talking about this, I did go look in the guide to see if it, because I was concerned because we didn't know if it was also going to be 3:30 the next day. So I did go look in the guide to see if it said anything, and I couldn't find anything. So we just assumed. We could also see the security checkpoint from our room, so I was like keeping an eye on it the next day and all of that. But yeah, it was just weird. And as far as I know, I didn't hear of anyone like missing the race due to transportation. So I think it worked out okay, but it's just nerve-wracking,
Yeah, there was still plenty of time to make it.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit frustrating. Moving on towards the race, we do get to the pre-start area. The security was the same situation where you go kind of down that little back alley off of Disney Way there. And then security, they had a much better setup. For the 10K, they didn't even have all the booths set up, and it was pretty much like very minimal line walk through. When you get into the actual event, the bag check-in is right there on the right. So we went and did that. They had brought in food trucks. They did not have any food or drink other than the included after race stuff at Disneyland weekend. So that was a nice improvement. And they had some non-character backdrops as well for photos. Those were there before and after. Overall, it is still a much smaller area.
Mm-hmm.
I will note we didn't have any super major issues with the restrooms this time. I'm not sure if they brought in more or if it was just not as big of an issue this time. 10K, it wasn't an issue either time, but even for the half, which we can get into, it was fine. I will note that the corrals, still an issue that we saw from Disneyland, were fairly crowded, to the point that they were like doing the push up because people were like spilling out of the back of the corral
Yeah.
situation to try to get in. And I understand like wanting to take up the space.
Yeah. It's a different situation from Disney World in like the corral setup, because at Disneyland they're on the road and they have them stacked like A, B, C, D, E. I think they do maybe turn a corner when you get to some of the lower ones, because I know it's like a block. But whereas World, you're set up sideways and then you walk out, so they can like make the back of the corral kind of as big as they want to in that parking lot. So I think people aren't used to pushing themselves up. I don't know, like,
I think they just weren't big enough.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. It's like, I don't know if they were just not big enough, or if people were like, you have to, it's at capacity, you need to like be touching the person next to you, which who wants to do that? But sounds like they're just not big enough.
Yeah, otherwise, pre-entertainment for this,
Oh,
both
fabulous.
days, fabulous. Yeah, like, what is it? Madam
Leota
came out and did a whole thing for the 10K. She had like a whole speech that was
yeah,
that was like a riff off of, you know, what she says on the ride. Awesome, you know, different characters coming out. Pretty
Yeah.
much both start days.
Dapper Dan's.
Yeah, that was half day.
Didn't they sing they didn't sing the national anthem on the 10K day?
I don't believe so.
Oh,
I believe it was just a voice.
I thought it was the Angels guy on the half day.
Oh, maybe it was.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was
one
good.
day had the Cadaver Dans.
Cadaver Dans, yes, but you know, before they died, they were the Dapper Dans.
But yeah, but then we start and we are doing the 10K. Still the best 10K course. A couple minor changes from Disneyland, I think, to help eliminate a couple pinch points there. But overall, still the best Run Disney 10K course. Yeah. Easy. So much park time. You're after mile 1, you're pretty much in California Adventure, doing some zigzags. And both parks, you do like kind of go out and back through some different cast areas, but it's never for more than a few minutes. But yeah, basically like 4 straight miles of park time is awesome. And then again, talking about like the theming of the race, the fact that Disneyland and California Adventure go so hard in their general Halloween theming and fall theming just like makes the whole theme of the race so much better.
Yeah, without like any extra work on Run Disney's part. Like the decorations are just there not all the time, but all season, and they're just amazing. We commented so many times, like from the races and then from our park time, of just like, it's amazing here.
Yes, it was our first time at Disneyland in the fall, so a lot of that stuff was cool to see, new to us, and all good and dandy there. Yeah, I really don't have like a ton of notes about the 10K. It was all really pretty positive. Weather was hot, but I think this distance was short enough that it didn't seem like it was too much of an issue regardless of where you are. Let me think here. I
mean, as per usual, the 10K just had water, no Gatorade, which like when you start to get hot, like that can be a thing. But I just chugged a Gatorade or Powerade that they gave us afterwards and called it at that. But
a big increase in characters and photo stops or photo pass along the way, as well as a lot of like scene photo passes. The pumpkin down Main Street, the castle, Millennium Falcon was on there, and feel like I'm missing something else, but yeah, general increase in the quantity of characters, as well as just the general like running photo pass along the way.
They also did what I was like hoping they would do in January and was very disappointed. They had Marvel characters out, because obviously in Disney World we've started to get the Guardians, which I appreciate. Shout out Disney for doing that more regularly, but you know, going to Disneyland where they have all the characters available to them, like I really wanted to see those in January, and I was sad that they had nothing in that area. So now they did have they have like a elevated area that they do a show on during the day, but they had characters out there that switched out. The 10K when I ran by, it was Moon Knight, who
It
I
was
had
Moon
never
Knight for
seen.
us.
Okay, I had never seen him in person before, so that was awesome. And then I know the next day was the Dora Milaje. I don't know if they switched out, with other things, but it was cool. Oh, and they had Black Panther. I think he was available
On the half day.
for a photo. Yeah.
I don't think he was out for us, but we could have missed him.
Yeah.
Scott asked what was the temperature when you started. It was like mid-70s.
Yeah.
So it was fairly warm, but being in the dark definitely made it more bearable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think I have too many other notes. Finish situation was pretty similar. I already talked about what was available pre and post race in that area. The only thing is, if you're used to Walt Disney World, this area gets crowded much more quickly.
Yeah.
It really, like, even once I finish, usually there's not a ton of people out there at that point. And it felt like there were a good amount of people out there, and both days felt like that. Like, it definitely fills up faster.
I do like their table situation kind of along the chute, not the chute, but like after you go through like all the runner area and you're out in the family reunion area. They do have a lot of good like tables and cocktails, like standing height, and other ones that you can just gather around. Not a lot of shade, which didn't really affect us this day, but the next day it was like there's no shade anywhere.
Yeah, that's not really any different from Walt
World,
Disney
yeah,
World for
but
sure, though.
Still something to note.
Yeah, but if you didn't have those standing tables where they had a couple umbrellas, otherwise there were people, like, especially the next day, sitting behind any like pole or sign they could find to get some shade.
Oh my goodness, who would do something such as that?
Lots
I
of
don't
people.
know. Me. They also, something to note, which was very fun. They also, after you got like the banana and the food boxes, they also had big boxes of candy from the same boxes I'm sure they use at like Oogie Boogie Bash, where you could get like Mars candy, so like M&M's, Snickers, etc.
Yeah, that was a nice addition. The second day they were letting you kind of pick out what you wanted.
Oh yeah.
Tony said the finishing area is much improved from January. Definitely learned and adapted. Yeah, definitely a lot more there. Again, they did have the 2 photo sections. They were like stagnant scenes, so there weren't characters. But again, having something there was an improvement. They were also very well themed to the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were weekend specific photo banners that you could.
They did this in January too, but I love how they have the different TVs that or screens that are like showing the finish line camera. I just think that's cool to like watch other people finish.
We did see, Tyler and I were waiting for photos, and we saw people we knew finishing on it, which was
it's just
definitely
fun.
a highlight.
It's just a fun thing. And cold drinks availability after the half.
Yeah, for sure. I posted, I bought a Coke after the half marathon. Well, I'm trying to think. Getting back to the resort after that, nothing super notable. I don't think it wasn't super busy for security. A little bit of a line, but
we stopped at Starbucks. Well, I walked back separate from you, but we picked up Starbucks, which was nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, I guess we can talk about...
Are we talking about like how our races went? Are we not?
Yeah, we can talk about how the races went. There we go. Yeah, so these are like solid medal lineup. These are some favorite medals from probably at least the past year or so.
We need to do, this is a video idea. We need to do a medal breakdown from like the year. We'll pull them all out and show them next to each other and stuff.
We do have quite a few. Yeah, these are in top tier of the last few years. I think most notable ones after this would be the 90s marathon weekend medals.
That wasn't this year though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
like,
okay.
As of like medals that I'm thinking about are like in my top tier. These are probably my favorite since then. Not that there haven't been good medals.
Did you know the medals glow in the dark too?
The medals glow in the dark.
The
hat glows in the dark. I was gonna wear it. Turns out it's actually a little bit big for my head. I have a little head.
I have a big head, so I get the Halloween hat.
Yeah, you get to wear the Halloween hat. It's just a shame. I really like the style of it. It's like that trucker style that I like.
Make your head bigger.
I know.
You need to learn more things.
Apparently. But yes, the medals glow in the dark, which is pretty cool. Again, just like all over theming for the races this weekend.
Yeah. And shout
A
out
plus.
to whoever informed us that this was the door knocker, because we didn't know.
Yeah, that's awesome medals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ran with Tony, who is in the chat right now, Diver Down family. The usual crew was unavailable to run this weekend. Well, I shouldn't say that. Tyler was there. Shout out to Tyler.
He was being a good boyfriend.
Yes, he was running with his girlfriend for her first Run Disney race. So congratulations to them. Also, their costumes were like on point. They were Jack and Sally.
They were good, Jack and Sally.
Yes, I think there is a picture of them in our stories. But they went all out and they were awesome.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, little Sarah was not there with us.
Poor little Sarah. I did enjoy the video for the 10K is currently available on the channel, and I enjoyed Tony in the video.
Yeah, Tony was awesome to run with, and of course he was okay with being in the video, but very energetic and very enthusiastic. Says hi to everyone, which is awesome. Super positive. So shout out again to Tony for sharing the miles with me.
Yeah. I ran with my girlfriend, Allie, who it's a girlfriend who's a girl. But it was also her first Run Disney, and she is hooked, and we're trying to get her into the Princess 10K because she wants to do that one now. And we also dressed up. We did a Taylor Swift, Lizzie McGuire movie mashup, which once the sun started to come up, people did get. When it was still dark, people didn't realize what we were doing. But once the light was around, we had so many cast members be like, I love it. So that was great. The race itself was good for about the first half, and then I don't know if it was my shoes or what was going on, but I had really, really bad shin pain that like started at the race and like lasted the whole day. So post race, I immediately got ice from medical, and then the rest of the day I kind of put my feet up and iced it and ibuprofens, and we can get to it when we talk about the half, but it was better by the half. So I don't know what it was because it went away and it didn't bother me for a whole half marathon. But that was a little annoying because my previous Disneyland 10K was fabulous, was a PR, was wonderful. And I kind of wanted that same experience with my friends, but, it's okay.
Still a good time.
Yeah, it was still fun to be there. She wasn't pushing for any specific goal or anything, so I kind of just used her to be distracted until we got to the end. But we enjoyed, the race just as much as we would have, and we love Disneyland.
Yeah, of course, if you have any questions and you are watching live, feel free to ask in the chat, and we will hit on them. But we can, I think, move on into the half. I would say our day in between wasn't super eventful. A little bit of park time.
I was on the bed icing my
whole lot of kind of relaxing. I did have lunch with kind of the crew that was there, Jason and Tyler.
Oh yeah, you went to Blue Bayou, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did I eat lunch? I don't even remember where I ate lunch.
I couldn't tell you where you ate lunch.
It's not important, but
I will say, walking back from the races, the Earl of Sandwich does breakfast food. Pretty bomb breakfast sandwiches and tater tots.
Yeah, did you go to the Earl of Sandwich location or the truck?
The location.
Oh, okay, because they have a truck set up now as well.
I literally just saw they were open. I was like, I wonder if they have breakfasty things, and walked in and was like, all right, guess I'm committed to this experience. I think at the time I wanted to sit down too.
Yeah.
I was ready for a little sit, so they had a nice shady area outside that I could sit in. But why don't we move on to the half, the less fun of the two this weekend, I think, for most people.
I still had fun.
I mean, it was still fun.
In pain the whole time.
I just have thoughts about the Disneyland half.
Yeah.
Or Disneyland halves in general.
Yeah.
So we got up morning. Again, we waited for the security to open. We could see from our window when they were letting people through. Yeah. Kind of just planned for that 3:30, which was fine because usually we're like an let's get up and going at 2:30 type of people. So we actually got a little bit more sleep than usual. Real quick walk across downtown Disney. I almost called it Disney Springs there.
There is a little line that builds up in front of security, kind of because they're waiting for it to open, but I would say it looks more intimidating than it ends up being. Like, they
It was
move it
fine.
through really quick.
Yep, we got over to Disney Way. Again, they had all the security open. Really, no big issues there. Pretty much a steady moving line. No big waits there. No real issues at bag check or restrooms. Again, all the pre-race I thought was pretty positive there. That brings us up to the start. Really, again, same situation for the start. It was less crowded, or felt less crowded that day, I think, in A corral, but obviously I cannot speak for the corrals behind us.
I was in C, and I mean, getting there 4 o'clock-ish, like, we were able to go into our corral no problem. There was a point where cast members were saying, like, hey guys, please move up, make room. I don't remember anyone being like outside of my corral if I looked over my shoulder. But I mean, I've seen the pictures. It definitely happened.
I was gonna say, I feel like I heard it happening for the half specifically.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I don't know what more they can do.
They just need to make the corrals bigger. They just move
Yeah.
it back. That's all.
Exactly. So this was obviously the more concerning day for the heat, looking at about the same weather, mid 70s for the start, but most of us are going to be running after the sun is up.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you get your lovely 5 miles through the Disneyland resort area, and then you are running 8 miles out through the lovely city of Anaheim or something of the sort.
I felt like it was lovelier this time than last time, in my opinion.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
Maybe the company was just good this time. I ran with my mother-in-law.
Yeah, so this was not a like PR type of race for me, but it was a trying race. I did still stop for the photos, mostly because at that point, well, one, I was trying to I did adjust my expectations and my goal pace for it. And in my effort to do that, I did allow myself to stop for the photos, which was fine because for the most part, it was kind of cool. I was the first person to come up for a lot of the photo stops. In some cases, like you'll see in the video, like they're not even ready. Like the character is like out cheering on the course and stuff. But that was all fine. It was good and fun. Again, the park section, awesome. Probably one of my favorite shots from one of our Run Disney videos is I'm running down Main Street and there is just like no one. It's like just me. I think there's one person like 100 yards ahead of me. So it's just like a really cool, a lot of empty style videos for that part.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. Again, park section is still awesome. You have quite a bit to go through there. I would like to know, well, you can talk about it, like crowding wise through the parks.
Yeah, I don't remember any crowding throughout the parks, off the top of my head. The bit where you get to the parks and you're kind of turning around. I mean, like, there's a lot of people around you. There's some dark areas that are a little like concerning. But nothing like the infamous, mile 3 water stop funnel situation.
Which they did intentionally, like, circumnavigate around to stop that spot.
Yeah. I would have been so surprised if they had just left it, because that was just wildly dangerous and frustrating for everybody. So, yeah, no, I don't remember any big funnels. There are a few places where when you're going backstage or when you're coming back on stage where you're going through a very narrow kind of sidewalk size, but going through the area that you're traversing isn't very long, so it doesn't cause too bad of a backup.
Yeah, it's super weird going in Galaxy's Edge by the Falcon. There's like shipping containers in your way. Like they do not feel like they feel very on the course, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, no, nothing too bad. The one that sticks out to me the most in the park that felt like a little crowded is when you're going back on stage in Toontown, because you have that character stop right there. So that can get a little jostly when people are trying to get over or coming back on, because it's just like it's like an intersection almost. So that little, maybe pay attention to where you're going so you don't run into anybody, but overall, not too bad at all.
Yeah, again, characters and PhotoPass. Actually, PhotoPass this day was like so on point.
Got some good pictures.
There were some of like, yeah, my favorite photos as well from races in a long time. Just like some really good photos all around.
It stuck out to me too that they had some of the rides like running, like they had the teacups, they had the rockets. I forget what they're called. We have them at Disney World too, but they had those going up in the air. Can't ride them, but it's just like fun.
The kinetic energy is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get out of the parks. Go ahead.
I want to say one other thing that I don't think we've actually like mentioned, and they had some at the 10K too, and they have several at the half. They have several, I don't know if they're parade performers or from shows or whatever, but they have like entertainment cast members.
Yep,
who
in
are
costume.
In costume, who are just cheering on the side. I love them. I think they're so fun. They had like Halloween costumes. In Tomorrowland, they had some girls who were in like Buzz Lightyear costumes.
Yeah, for us, Buzz Lightyear was out with them,
which was cool. For us, it was just the like, I don't know if they're dancers or what, but it was just they almost look like Buzz Lightyear cheerleaders or something. But that's a really cool thing that we get more of in Disneyland, I think, than we do in Disney World. So that's always a favorite of mine. You can see them really well in his videos.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then moving out of the Disneyland area, again, you do have 8 miles in Anaheim. There are some highlights to this part. Definitely some nice race highlights for sure. But overall, this part is a little bit of a slog. There's not a lot of or any real entertainment. There are a couple bands out there, and it looks like they are organized by Run Disney because there were like Run Disney cast members in the polos with them. So they are trying to put, I think, what they can out there. I think they are just very limited. And of course, there is some of the community that does step up and come out, which is awesome and wonderful. It does feel very much like, a city half marathon.
I think so. I loved the DJs and the bands that they brought out, and I felt like had one at every mile. I'd have to like go back and like list them in my head, but I feel like they had one almost, not at the mile markers, but that's about how they were spaced. The first one we came to was like a steel drum band and they were singing as well. Everyone around me and like your mom and me like loved them. Like we were freaking out and singing along, and they were like playing off of us, and they were like, it was just like such a good energy, which maybe you didn't get because you're probably like more alone. but that one was so fun. And it was like that for several of them down the line, but that was an improvement from January. Like we didn't have things like that going on.
Yeah, definitely more out there for sure. Like they're definitely working very hard to try to increase what they can do out there.
And they had a couple of school bands too, kind of like how they do at Disney World. And I don't remember that happening in January. I think there were at least 2 that I remember. And I always love when the marching bands come out. I just think it's fun. So I think they did pretty good.
Yeah, and then once you hit, I think it's about mile 8, you are by the Honda Center. You don't run through the like Honda Center parking lot this time, but the Honda Center did show up and have like their whole entertainment lineup out, their mascots and cheerleaders. So that was all pretty cool.
Yeah.
You run on that, I think it's the Santa Ana Trail there, which I do actually kind of enjoy that part. Just you get a little bit of elevation change. It's something a little bit different.
That's where the crowding is if you're further back, because it is smaller. It's it's like a wide sidewalk. You have to go down and back around, and then you're also on like this incline, so some people are like not going as fast, and that's a little crowded, but it doesn't last very long, so it's not too bad.
No, it's less than a mile. It's not too long at all. But then you do get your kind of highlight outside the park is that they did bring back running through the Angel Stadium.
Yes.
Which was cool. They had a camera putting everyone on the big screen, and they had a scanner, so they were announcing names of who was coming through. So it was pretty cool. A little bit slippery on that dirt.
Oh, see, I didn't find that, but we were also going slower than you. So.
I was also wearing plates.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, just watch if you are trying and you're wearing plated shoes. I thought that was a little bit slippery.
Yeah, there is like a incline to get in there, and then when you're leaving, there is a sharp decline to get out of there. And if you, like me, weren't quite paying attention, that decline kind of come like I didn't realize how big of a decline it was, so I did almost tumble and then saved myself. So then bowling balls with runners.
But yeah, definitely awesome that they were able to include that
Yeah,
again.
and that announcer, I thought Jeff Goldblum was there announcing names because this guy sounded exactly like Jeff Goldblum.
I don't
He did.
remember.
He did. People around us said it too.
I don't remember. But then you basically are finishing back on the highway from there. It's really not too long. I think you're around mile 10 or so, maybe a little bit after. And it's pretty much just a slog back towards the finish area.
Yeah. They do have like a cheer zone section almost set up once you get through Angel Stadium and you're running that side of the parking lot. So that's kind of fun. They also had a backdrop there. It wasn't like anything major.
It was a DVC backdrop.
Yeah.
There was a whole DVC set up. And it
Yeah.
looks like there was Disney shuttles there. So it was something that
they
had set up.
Yeah. But that's cool. More cheering.
Oh, Tony said his wife said that one of the Anaheim Ducks players was there taking photos.
That's cool.
I probably wouldn't have been able to like recognize. I mean, we like hockey, but
yeah, we don't know the Ducks team very well, but that is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super fun and an awesome addition as well. But yeah, you run back the section where there was an up house at Disneyland weekend. Whoever organized that had like a haunted mansion theme going on. They were very in character and fun.
And they had a big cooler of ice, and they were making little like sandwich baggies of ice and handing them out to people when I went by, which I took one. And so I've seen the sign of who's doing that, and I know who it is, but I never remember who it is. So if anyone remembers the group that's doing that, it's like a Facebook group, I think. They are wonderful, and the fact that they had such a in-depth setup and thought about what runners would need and things like that, they're amazing. Shout out to them. I gotta figure out who they are, and I actually need to like send them a message because they're doing good work.
Yeah, for sure. They were awesome. And then, I mean, finish area, pretty much the exact same from Disneyland, as well as the same finish at post setup as the 10K. Like I said, did feel a little bit crowder. Obviously, got a little bit hotter because we are all out there. The cold beverages from the food trucks were awesome. Definitely a big plus there. I will note, again, not something that I experienced, but it did sound like water stops towards the back of the pack had definitely become a little bit of a struggle. Not being able to fill cups fast enough, just kind of handing out whatever they could.
Yeah.
I mean, doing whatever they could to help keep runners cool and keep them on course for sure. Yeah. But a little bit of a mess.
What I saw at our point, and we're probably about mid-pack to maybe slightly behind mid-pack. We weren't at the very end. What we were experiencing is that it seemed like they couldn't fill the cups fast enough. Anytime we were there, they had at least one or two tables at the end that had some, but the people at the front tables were having to yell like, keep going, there's water at the end, keep going. So I don't know if as things snowballed, if that just got worse and worse. I don't know if I heard some people say they actually ran out of water. I don't know if that's true or if people just didn't realize that the cups weren't full. But, that is like not great.
Yeah. I didn't hear, obviously we talked about the volunteers there having the ice, but I didn't hear about Disney having any like provided cooling stations. Like sometimes at World we'll get like the sponges
towels.
in the
or not towels, sponges.
The sponges or something along the lines.
Or I know like at least once when I was doing the marathon, maybe twice, like there was a medical station that was handing out like bags of ice. I don't know if just logistically if they haven't figured out how to like quickly get those things on course, because I'm sure they're like split. They're not like planned for. They're like, oh, we need to do this. I think the sponges are planned for because they have to have sponges. But
yeah, I don't know. It just feels like, again, I don't care if it's not out for me, but
Oh, yeah.
anyone after, like, absolutely, that would have been a
Yeah.
huge benefit for.
Yeah.
So I definitely hope, again, some of this is very temperature dependent, but it is something that we know Run Disney is capable
Yeah.
of providing
Yeah.
for runners. So it probably would have been nice to see it out there, especially once the sun got up. It did get hot. I would say it probably jumped at least into the high 80s and then up back above the 90s towards the back of the pack.
Yeah, I think the like official temperature at the end of the race time was in the upper 80s, if I remember, because I was like checking on it. Um, and there, it was sunny. There were like a couple clouds, but like not any like relief from that.
Yeah, I don't think I have really any too many more
Um,
thoughts about the half specifically.
One thing it kind of applies to the 10K too, but I do love about Disneyland, I've said this before, is the way the finish goes. Since you're kind of finishing right off a main road, folks can go out there and cheer. So you have like a long, like half mile of folks who can be on the road cheering, which is very fun, very good atmosphere at a finish line. So I always love that aspect of it.
And it was very easy if you needed to find a spot to cheer and you were okay not being like right at the finish line. You could just kind of walk down around and pretty easily find a spot.
As we saw, well, I saw you at the finish. Your mom had no clue that you were there, which was funny because like I full on turned and waved at you. So I don't know who she thought I was waving at.
Yeah, but then we do have medals. There we go. This is probably one of my favorite medals. You can see there's a little bit of a translucent element to it,
yeah.
and then you've got the characters as the Sanderson sisters. Awesome, really cool medal.
Yeah.
Again, one of my favorites.
For sure. And seeing them in their costumes before the race on the stage was so cool.
Yeah, and then we have the challenge medal, which was the Nightmare Before Christmas theme here. Again, this spins, and you got Sally on the other side there. Awesome.
Yeah, very cute. Very cutesy. I was gonna say it.
I know you were gonna say it. Everyone knew you were gonna say it.
There was a couple signs that did it, and then the other coast to coast.
Yep, so this was finally our chance to get the other one. We got the first track with doing the Walt Disney World half, and then the Disneyland weekend a week after. And then with the addition of Halloween half weekend, they made it possible to get both tracks. So we got 2 coast to coast medals this year, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Just a fun little extra thing. I'm glad they brought that back.
For sure. So going back just to kind of general thoughts on the weekends. If you guys have any other questions, now would be the good time to ask them here. But I think my big takeaway is for Disneyland weekends, the half is not the like spotlight race for me. I don't know if it really is for anyone. It's still a good half. Like, I love a half marathon. It's still a solid half marathon. You do still get comparable park time to any other Run Disney race. It is just kind of hard with the like really fun elements all being in the beginning and then the back like 2/3 being a little bit of a drag. I would say if you don't need a half for like your coast to coast or something like that, the 5K and the 10K are really where it's at for this weekend.
Yeah. It makes me wish they like would do a challenge with them. Because it's hard to like go there and do a 10K and not just like tack on the half so you also get a challenge medal,
Yeah, and that's what I said. Like, people will still certainly sign up for half marathons out there. But the real highlights of the Disneyland races are definitely the 5K and the 10K. Just like amazing courses and situations for those races. If you're thinking about like first Run Disney or first Disneyland, one of those would be what I would absolutely recommend.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like I need to pick one type of situation, like 5K or 10K for sure.
I could definitely see. I mean, it could still get better on the Anaheim portions, like if they brought in more cheering things, but also if more like community folks came out. Oh, we didn't talk. Well, I'm assuming they were there. The 501st were out for you guys, Star Wars crew. They were out front. They were great.
Don't remember.
I'm glad they came out. But so like things like that, more like community folks out there cheering. There were definitely more this time than last time. So if that keeps building, that'll make it more and more fun. I mean, like that's like part of the fun of those city races is that just the community coming
Whoever
out,
shows up, yeah.
which like Disney can't really control. So I just hope they feel like they want to come support because it's fun and it, you know, helps the runners.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you guys have any other questions, otherwise I think we will wrap it up, or if there's anything else we didn't talk about that you wanted to hit on. Otherwise, still great weekend. Tons and tons of improvements over Disneyland for sure. Again, not that Disneyland was bad, but we did. I mean, I think we talked about what we thought was improved. Again, the photo passing characters was greatly improved. Yeah, it looks like crowding was definitely a little bit better this time.
That is true. The rough road areas, there were a lot less of them.
Oh, yeah, that is a really great point.
That's
During
huge.
Disneyland weekend, there was definitely some areas where the roads were being worked on or needed worked on.
Yeah.
And
I saw so many people fall in January, like, which is weird. Like, sometimes during a race, I'll see like one. And this half, I did see one guy fall, but he was, you know, got right back up. He was fine. So that is a huge like improvement because it was pretty bad in January.
yeah, great point there. I don't think I have anything else. Do you?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them into the comments. Otherwise, let us know, you know, what you're training for next. We've got Wine and Dine coming up here in just a little over a month. And then, of course, after the holidays, we have Dopey, Marathon Weekend, Marathon Goofy, whatever distance and challenge you are taking on. Good luck. Good luck with training. You know, I think that's, for a lot of us, really what the focus is.
Yeah. Lots of miles.
Lots
I
of
keep
miles.
thinking back to last year when I didn't try to run a marathon.
Yeah, it is nice to sometimes just, you know, do a half.
Yeah.
But, you know, I also
those were the days.
I also said after last year, I was like, I don't want to miss Dopey again. It's like I love Dopey too much.
I don't know if I'll do it again.
I will continue to do it.
I know you will.
Because I love to do it. Well, I think that is as good a place as any to bring us out. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, all of that fun YouTube-y stuff. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.